Hello and welcome to episode 66 of Retro Recall, the PS1 Chronicles, a show where we play and rank every PlayStation game ever created. My name is Jimmy, and as always, I'm here with Mike.
Hello.
And we have a special guest this week. Welcome Brian to the show.
Hello.
So I'm going to do to you what I do to everybody else on this. And what are some of your favorite games of all time?
Right off the bat, all-time favorite games, I'd have to go with Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, The Witcher 3, Dark Souls, and all the Souls games in general, Red Dead Redemption 2,
Classics. Yeah.
Dragon Age Origins. That about sums it up.
I didn't get a chance to tell you, I was going to start Knights of the Old Republic 2 the other day before I started Jedi Survivor. And I opened it up on my Steam Deck and it was just so overwhelming on there.
Oh, it didn't even work.
Well, it worked, but like pretty much the button configuring isn't really properly polished for Steam. It's not like it is on Xbox where it just natively works.
Yeah.
So it was just like key binding things to the controller and it just didn't feel right.
That's disappointing.
I'm probably going to play it on Xbox at some point, but I figured if I started it, I could play it on tour, even though I know I wouldn't. But I can say that. Yeah.
Also, we didn't even say who Ryan is. So,
Ryan, who the hell are you?
Who are you?
I play one half of the breakdowns on the guitar in the 156 band.
I forget what Jack said, but he also said something stupid like that too.
Now the other one we're missing is Lucas, and we have the full band.
I actually thought about asking Lucas for one of these upcoming episodes, but he doesn't really have a way to play, so he'd have to just like sit here and play. So like that would be kind of weird.
I feel like he would like play through one of the Doom type games like Duke Nukem or something like that.
Yeah, in a couple weeks we're going to cover, so that's why I brought that up. I wasn't going to say it, but I said it now.
Probably censor that.
You think so?
Probably.
I could just be like, in the next few weeks we're going to cover bleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you picked this game. I told you could pick whatever you wanted, and you love Star Wars. So tell us about your history with Star Wars.
I have been a Star Wars fan for pretty much my entire life. I remember growing up a huge fan of the trilogy, collected a bunch of action figures. And then, when I started playing games, play Star Wars games on the Nintendo 64 and, past that, Shadows of the Empire, the Episode 1 pod racing game, what else? Rogue Squadron, Star Wars Battlefield, Knights of the Old Republic, Republic Commando. Like I've been playing Star Wars games for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, you're way bigger of a Star Wars fan than me. I'm pretty casual when it comes to it. I mean, I've seen all the movies. I've played a lot of the games, but, you'll be throwing out names like Admiral Thrawn. I have no idea who that is, but I've heard you say it enough times that I know the name now.
Yeah. I watch all the shows and stuff on Disney Plus, and I've read comic books and the expanded universe novels. I'm a big Star Wars nerd.
I assume we covered this the last time we played a Star Wars game, but Mike, what is your history with Star Wars? You are,
Zero.
Yeah,
I know nothing about it. The most I remember is seeing like the Pod Racer game come out for some system, probably PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my God, this looks really cool, but I knew nothing about Star Wars and I still don't. So,
well, maybe after playing all these games, you'll want to check it out. Maybe not this one,
Maybe
but
not
one of the
this
other
one,
ones.
yeah.
Well, the other one we played was Dark Forces, which is a good game, but not on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
So I think the last thing I kind of wanted to talk about before we get into the game proper was, have you played any other beat 'em ups like this? Because this is just a straight up beat 'em up. It's not really like I thought it was going to be an adventure game or something, but it's not.
Yeah. I've played quite a few beat 'em ups. Would you consider like the OG God of Wars, like beat 'em up style games?
Maybe those are closer to hack and slash.
Oh, you're right. Hack and slash.
Also that,
Or this game kind of reminds me of like what eventually turned into like Marvel Ultimate Alliance kind of games.
Yeah.
Where you have like a set floor plan. You kind of just navigate that as a group or by yourself.
Yeah, most beat 'em ups aren't really 3D like this. It's more like just the 2D plane. So this definitely has more in common with Ultimate Alliance, I would say, than like Streets of Rage or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've both played. Me and Mike have played some good and bad beat 'em ups because they're very easy to mess up and hard to get really great. So, what would it take for a game like this to really appeal to you? I'll start with you, Mike. What does it take for a beat 'em up to become better than just another one of these?
Honestly, just the smooth controls. Like the whole purpose is just like with the fighting game. If you go into a fighting game and the controls suck, it's going to be a sucky game.
Yeah.
Because your entire game revolves around being able to smoothly control your character. Same thing applies with these. I feel like any beat 'em up we do is if you can navigate the game very smoothly and with no troubles, then that's already giving it a high score. The lack of repetition, maybe enemy changes and stuff like that, is also a huge plus for me.
Yeah, I mean, this game already does one of the things that I would want out of a beat 'em up, which is, you level up essentially and you get more health, more combos. Like, you need to have longevity to it because how many times are you going to fight the same droids over and over again? We didn't even get that far into this game, but we saw almost nothing new the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Ryan? What do you think about beat 'em ups?
I mean, I feel like at least when this game came out, I was probably like the target audience for this game. It's like run around and play as these Jedi that you've barely seen in one of the movies before. It's like, oh, I can play as Qui-Gon Jinn or Mace Windu. Like, hell yeah, let's go. Definitely would appreciate like smoother action and controls. I feel like that would draw me into playing more of these types of games.
Yeah, I don't mind if it's hard, if I can like properly navigate it. Like, obviously we both love Dark Souls and you're not fighting the controls in Dark Souls. It's just, get good. Whereas I feel like with this game, you can't really get good at it. You're just going to like memorize everything.
Well, yes, no, I can counter that, but we'll get into that more when we get into the actual part of the show.
All right, let's just get into the game then. Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Power Battles was released on April 4th, 2000. It was developed and published by LucasArts, and it is a beat 'em up with platformer elements. Everywhere I looked up, they were trying to call this game like half beat 'em up, half platformer. And like, I thought that was weird, but then I thought about it more and like, yeah, there's a lot of that stuff in this.
And we didn't even make it that far. So when we get farther into the game, there could be a lot more platforming than what we experienced.
I mean, there already was a bunch. I mean,
yeah, they
just the jumping up the mushrooms, and then on the first level, jumping through the like electricity and stuff. Like,
yep.
Yeah, the mushrooms in the second level kind of shot me back to old Crash Bandicoot days where you're trying to jump on things, and if you move too much one way, you'll fall off and die.
Now imagine doing that with two people.
Right.
I mean, you're watching our footage from when we played yesterday here, and like, you'll see Mike's playing by himself because I died.
So you played as Qui-Gon?
Yeah, I did.
I did too, yeah.
Well, we just kept switching because I wanted to see like what the different characters did. And like, there's some differences, but it's not really that important, I would say. Just kind of who you like, I think.
Right.
So yeah, there's 5 different characters, by the way. And you can unlock 3 more if you beat the game with certain characters on Jedi mode.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's cool that they have unlockables.
Yeah, I mean, you just need to have some reason to keep playing this at the very least.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'd be volunteering to go back through I can play as Coyote Mundi now. Let's do it again.
Well, did you play on easy mode or Jedi mode?
I played on Jedi mode.
We played on easy mode and it was still hard as fuck. So,
this will be the very first episode we do that Jimmy and I both played together at the same time. This was no playing by ourselves, so I feel like that changed a lot of my perspective on this.
Yeah, I feel like it probably would have been less of a chore for me to get through the levels if I was, playing with one of you guys or buddy. Playing by myself was like a little nerve wracking, but also like boring at parts.
Well, I have bad news. That doesn't really change when there's two people, especially like the bosses, like the boss of the first stage where, there's the droids coming in and there's the ship in front of you and you have to deflect the shots back. I don't know how one person is supposed to do that by themselves.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
We had to like divide up our duties to make it work.
I feel like I was just like mashing the swinging button
Mhm.
and then trying to deflect the shot back at the ship in time. It didn't always work out.
Yeah, the timing of that whole thing too is just like when the enemies show up, plus when the giant ship is shooting. It's like, how are you supposed to time this so that it works out in your favor? Like, you can never defeat them fast enough to get to the bullets.
Well, to go even farther on that, I feel like the deflecting just doesn't feel good because like you can't just hold it up. You have to like time it.
It's almost like parrying. Yeah.
Yeah. So many times I would try and do it and just get shot immediately. It didn't feel like the timing was consistent.
I feel like with the delay too, well, this could have just been because of internet connecting over to your side, but
Mhm.
whenever I'd hit the block button, it'd take a little bit before the block actually registered, and then it would do it. So I had to like mentally be prepared to hit the button earlier than what I thought I should be hitting it.
There were so many times like, because I would like inch forward pretty slowly by myself, and there'd be
Mhm.
like one droid left that would like shoot at me, and I'd like try to deflect it every time, but like I'd have to wait for the bolt to actually connect with my character for like maybe 30 seconds before I actually took
Yeah.
out the droid.
Well, that's the thing. It's like these kind of games, usually they're like action packed, like you're just cruising through it, just killing everybody. And as we played, we found that the best way to play this is like really slow.
Yeah, inch by inch kind of thing.
Because if you go fast, I kept like falling off the edge when we get to a new area and then losing a life immediately, or just like getting ambushed by too many dudes,
Yeah, the credit system. I mean, I feel like this is also like you might also find this as like an arcade game,
Mhm.
So the was it like 4 or 5 lives?
Yeah.
Kind of. There's so many times where I would just fall off something. I'm like, okay, wasted a life, cool.
Yeah, I feel like we should have 5 lives each, not total together. I think that would have solved a lot of our problems. But I don't know. This game, like a lot of games we played, it's like halfway between arcade and a home console game. So they don't know what they want to do. So they just make you suffer, really.
Well, on top of that, it also feels like it's like it was designed originally for one player. And then they're like, well, what if we have a second player option? And then they never revamped the system to accommodate for that second player.
Well, you say that, but I feel like us playing it together was the intended way for this to be played.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
I just feel like it's so hard. I mean, you would be able to speak on this more, like to play by yourself, especially like in the boss fights in certain
Yeah,
scenarios.
this boss fight.
Yeah. I mean, you see Mike trying to do it by himself and it just doesn't happen.
No. That's where the whole credit system comes into play. Like, I feel like 5 is just, even if you had 2 players, if you changed it to 10, now you have double what it would be for a one player game.
Mhm.
I think that would fix that issue so much.
I agree. I think that this feels like it's more about trying to be hard than you just, you know, having a good time cruising through it. Which, why is there even an easy mode if it's still hard?
Yeah, I really didn't, because we went back when we were
Mhm.
finally done. We went back and played in Jedi mode. Wasn't that much of a difference aside from the boss fights.
Yeah, the bosses took like way more health from us than on easy mode, but other than that, everything was exactly the same. There might have been more health.
Yeah.
I don't know, but not that I noticed.
Now, how far did you make it, Ryan?
So I ended up making it past the second level. I know the third level is like you're in the streets of Naboo, but I didn't really play that. After I got past the boss on the second level, I was like, all right, I think I'm done.
We didn't even make it to the boss of the second level, right?
We made it to the mid boss, unless that was the giant worm thing.
The slug, yeah. That's
Oh,
the
okay.
boss.
Is that the final boss?
Yep.
Oh, we almost
Oh.
beat it? Damn. I don't know. We had just been playing this for so long that when we got there and then both died, it was just like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, one of the other things that I didn't like was like I in the worm or slug boss, like I died a few times before I figured out how to actually damage the boss. And when you would die, it would start you back at the like before you have to jump across all of those like chasms. And I'm like, well, this sucks. Like, and then I figured out how to take down the boss. I actually kind of cheesed him a little bit. You can hide behind Jar Jar when he's doing the like spraying the
like the homing things.
missiles on
Yeah.
you, and it like just won't do any damage.
Oh man, if both of us were just hiding behind Jar Jar, that would have been pretty funny. Just to get into this too, the jumping is just absolutely just horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan's comparison to Crash Bandicoot was spot on. Of you jump and you don't really know where you're going until you can see your shadow on the ground.
Exactly.
So, like the very first jump Jimmy and I get to in the game, where you have to jump onto the conveyor belt, we both died because we both missed the jump. And like, it doesn't look that far, but you just mistime it because you just don't know how deep it actually is in the game.
It reminds me almost exactly of Crash Bandicoot 1. Like, specifically those early levels where you're going forward and you can't tell the like depth perception.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like that first level where you're trying to get all the boxes and you have to like bounce on them all. You just can't tell what the hell's going on. Like they fixed it in 2 and 3. But like this game came out in 2000. Crash 3 is already out. Like I don't know.
I died quite a few times in the first level when you're going down that like electricity hallway where if you jump it'll like beam you, and then when you get to the end I'm like trying to jump up and grab the ledge and you're not jumping high enough. It's like, all right, I guess I'll just die.
So we learned you could jump along the sides of them to get there. You don't have to go in the middle at all.
Wasn't using my my big brain.
I mean, I wouldn't have thought of that either. Mike thought of that, so I'll give him credit there. I was just going to brute force it.
It's just one of those things of, I don't know what we're supposed to do here. Everything seems to kill us. I always try to find things to break the game like you do with hiding behind Jar Jar during that fight. It's just like, if it looks like it can be jumped on, I'm going to try to jump on it and see if that works.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Would you say that platforming is a significant part of this game? Because I feel like I would.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Especially like just in the 2 levels we've done.
Mm-hmm.
You've had the electricity part, the piston part, the mushrooms, all that stuff through the forest, and then with the worm thing, the chasms and stuff that you got to jump over. And the jumping is the most heart rate inducing part of this entire game, of like, you have to focus and it's just so stressful to know if you're even going to make the jump.
You know, we were getting sweaty over here playing it. I'm like, it's just little jumps.
Yeah, the mushroom part specifically, I remember if I would die and run out of credits, I would, or just die in general, I would start like all the way back at the bottom. I'm just like, God, I need to do this again.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were doing it together, so we had to like coordinate it with each other to where we wouldn't knock each other off. It was a nightmare.
Well, that, and to go off the point of like, you keep saying about, oh, it started me back so far. The way you get checkpoints in this game is there's a bunch of power-ups on the ground, that being health regeneration, force regeneration, special stuff. But then another one is a checkpoint. So it's very possible you can just avoid the checkpoint altogether. I don't know why you would, but you could, or miss it, and then you have to start back even farther from the last time you got a checkpoint power up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you knew this. I didn't know that that's what those were until we looked it up.
Yeah, I didn't know. I figured out what the health one was.
Yeah.
But like, and I did enjoy the Yoda chuckle every time you pick up health.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I didn't know what the other ones were. I was just like, oh, okay, if I see it, I'll pick it up.
Well, there's the one red one you pick up that hurts you. What is that?
Oh, so I looked into that, and I think it's called the challenge or something. And what it does, it gives you 500 points, which is the highest point that you can get from an item.
Mm-hmm.
But it cuts all your health and force in half. So it's like Oh, do you want the points over that? Which no one would. I don't get why you would want that.
Well, I don't know if you looked into this, but if you get a certain amount of points, do you get credits back or something?
Uh, no, but there is a
You can pick
power
up,
up
yeah,
that you
credits.
get an extra life. Yeah.
I just didn't know if there was a reason to want to have a high score other than like, oh, I got a high score. I assume no then.
I think your score plays into your upgrades at the end, right?
Oh, you're right. You're right. So if you don't hit a certain score, you don't get the upgrades at all.
Yeah. So when you and I played, you got the extra health for your character. I didn't because I was like just 200 short of what you were. And I guess I didn't meet the threshold to get that upgrade.
I mean, it's a system that is cool in theory, but then like, okay, you're going to have to replay these levels, play them really perfectly, or you're not going to get the points. I mean, this is the same thing we talked about last week with Omega Boost, where to get the upgrades, you have to play so well. You can't just like cruise through it. So I don't know. Because you can also grind in this game. You can keep playing the same levels over and over again and level up. It says that in the manual. And I just don't think I would ever do that.
No, I don't think it's good enough for me to grind. Like, oh, I need to increase my score. No.
I mean, we played the first level like 4 times because we kept losing. So like just thinking about doing it over and over again after I'm already burnt out on it from just beating it to begin with. I mean, yeah, you could come back to it later, but I don't know, this is just not the kind of game that you should have to do that.
But granted, we had to play so many times because we were going into this as like a hack and slash type game where you're just running around with your lightsaber and killing things, which is how this game should be. Like, I think that'd make it so much more fun to just be cruising around, swing your lightsaber and killing everyone.
Yeah, I mean, like a regular beat 'em up where it's just about
Yeah.
beating people up. It's not about, thinking about jumping properly and having to lock on to enemies.
Yeah. Which early on in our footage, you'll see us swinging wildly all around because we didn't figure out the lock on system.
Yeah, it
right
took me
away.
a minute to figure out how to do that as well. I was like, this sucks.
Yeah, how do I aim to hit the people that I need to hit?
I don't know if either of you did this, but I kept mixing up the block and the lock on. So you'll see me spamming lock on sometimes because I'm like, oh, I'm doing it, but I'm just getting hit.
I don't know why. I was mixing up jump and run. I don't know why. I just kept wanting to hit the opposite buttons for that.
Well, to be fair, R2 to run doesn't really feel great.
It doesn't. But on top of that, you utilize every single button in this on the controller.
Yeah.
So I mean, we have so many games where they only use like 3 buttons to try to do everything. So whenever they do use every single button, it is nice that they took the time to think about that. But the control systems don't feel good in any of the configurations.
Yeah, so the default one, it's like 3 of the face buttons are different attacks. Circle is jump. R1 is to block. L1 is to lock on. Wait, am I mixing it up
I
already?
think that's backwards, yeah.
Whatever. And then you hold down R2 or L2, right?
Yes.
L2 with one of the face buttons, and you can do a force attack, which varies between the different characters. And they're pretty powerful, at least on some of the characters. Some of them, they feel completely useless, but you are using every button and you have the ability to do different attacks. It's not just like punching over and over again.
Yeah. And it's like, I guess this is where having 2 players, I feel like it would be nice to have more synergy between the characters.
Mhm.
So, like in the footage we're watching here, I play the lady with the red lightsaber. Ryan, what's her name?
Adigalia.
That one. And and her force move is a shield. It'd be nice if like that applies to both players, or I throw out a shield, kind of like Borderlands, where like there's a turret thing that goes down, and as long as everyone stands next to it, everyone's safe.
Or even just like a buff, that you can apply to
Yeah.
your party members.
But to like only apply to just me, then it's like, well, okay, this is nice, but how does that help you at all?
And like some of the attacks, like the one I had, I want to say it was Qui-Gon Jinn, it like kind of shoved everybody back, which I thought was pretty useful. But then like Obi-Wan's was just like a lunge forward, and wasn't really very helpful. I could already do that by running and attacking.
Yeah. Some definitely have stronger force attacks than others, for sure.
Yeah, we kind of completely glossed over the story in this game.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest, I don't even remember it right now.
I mean, from what I've played, it's just pretty much the beginning of episode 1. You know, they start out on the Trade Federation ship, make their way to Naboo, where they encounter Jar Jar Binks and go to the Gungan city, and then from there they go to Naboo to save Queen Amidala. I'm assuming that's what you do in the game. I didn't make it that far, but
Well, there's also, I'm pretty sure, an episode 1 game, right?
I think so. I think you're right.
So it's kind of like a weird middle ground with this one where like you are following the movie, but not exactly. I don't know. I haven't watched episode 1 in a really long time. So
The thing I remember most fondly about episode 1 is the pod race, and then, you know, Darth Maul lighting up his lightsaber for the first time.
oh yeah, I mean Darth Maul, pod racing, and then what's that dude's name? The weird alien that's like mean to Anakin.
Oh, Zabulba.
Yeah. Those are the 3 things I remember the most, but I haven't seen that movie in probably 10 years at least. So we've covered all the gameplay, I would say. I mean, we talked a little bit about the boss fights. There's not really much to say there.
I mean, for the boss fights, just the difficulty of them in general is just absurd. So you were saying, Ryan, that you figured out the worm thing.
Yeah, for like the first few times I tried to fight the boss, I'm hitting it like indiscriminately, just seeing if I can do damage, and I just get messed up. So then I was like, well, maybe I need to hit it on the bottom whenever it reels up to do its attacks. And then I wasn't able to do it correctly because you have to time it right. And so I was like, well, maybe if I try to do a lunge attack while it's going up, I'll do some damage. And I finally did. But I was like, it took me a lot to figure that out.
We were already on 0 credits, I'm pretty sure, when we got to that fight. So like, you know, we never figured it out. And I think at that point we were like, I don't really want to play this anymore. So we never went back.
I mean, I won't lie. I pretty much deflected my way through the first 2 levels. Like that was my bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
But with that too, like we made it to the second phase of that fight, but we didn't know how we made it to the second phase of that fight. And that's the biggest problem with these boss fights is there's no indication that you're actually doing anything. So with the slug, with the mid boss on the first level, you're just swinging wildly, and you're like, "Am I doing anything? I don't know." And then all of a sudden, something happens. You're like, "Oh, okay, that worked."
Yeah, there's not like a indication of where you're supposed to hit them. There's not a health bar, so it's just kind of confusing. I mean, obviously you can figure it out. We all did, but I don't know. It's just not great design, I would say.
That on top of how slow you attack and how sometimes unresponsive the controls are.
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah, if you have to run up to a boss real quick and attack them before they, you know, do a counter attack, and you end up just doing, you know, a wide swing instead of just normal attack, and you're just like, okay, missed my opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, even that first mid boss, I could never figure out the timing of when he was swinging around and you had to jump over his like arms. I just felt like I was always going too early, and then you just get hit 3 times and takes away half your health.
That's the other side of it too, is like the fact that you can get hit and then you're in that like stun animation, but then you keep getting hit with that. It's like you should at least be invulnerable for a short amount of time after getting hit so that you can recoup and like get your bearings straight again.
Yeah, all the best games have, what do they call it? Invincibility frames, where after you get hit, you're like flashing for a second or something, and you can kind of figure out what you're doing. But this game just doesn't have that, so you can die super quick.
Granted, most games we've played around this era all have that, where it's just you get hit once, but you can keep getting hit over and over again. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I kind of feel about this game, I think we say this a lot when we're playing games. It's like, it feels like they had an idea. You know, a Star Wars beat 'em up is a cool idea, but they just didn't go all the way with it. They just kind of like half-assed their way through it, threw in platforming to like have variety, but the platforming sucks. So, cool idea, bad execution, I think.
Yeah. And there's times too, I don't know if this happened to you, Ryan, where I'd be blocking and then I'd try to do an attack and just none of my buttons registered.
Yeah, it would like stutter for a second before, you would finally do an attack.
Yeah. And just the inconsistency of like, oh, sometimes you can block and attack while blocking. Other times it just doesn't work at all. And I could never figure out why that happened.
Yeah, you told me you can block while you're attacking, but it never worked for me, so I just kind of gave up on that.
Oh, it never worked for you either?
No.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, I remember you saying like, "Oh, just block and then attack," and I'm like, "Okay," and then I just never did it because it didn't work.
Huh.
It probably works sometimes, with like a lot of things in this game, but it's just not worth it because then you get hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's odd.
One thing I did like is like if you were being swarmed by like 3 or 4 enemies, I have 2 that are shooting in the back, and you block, even if it's not like a perfect block, you might deflect a bolt and hit one of the enemies that is like right directly in front of you. I thought that was a pretty cool combat feature for how old this game is.
I also like how they can shoot each other. Like, you can kind of manipulate it to where the shots hit them.
Mm-hmm.
Going off of that too is like, it's nice that even if you have an enemy behind you shooting, it doesn't hurt you. Like because you're blocking, it still affects that, which is a nice touch. And I think if this game didn't have that, this would be 10 times harder than
It would be a fucking nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a freaking Jedi, dude. Use the Force. It's like your spider sense.
Yeah, you're a Jedi. You should be just slamming dudes around and tossing them off and shit, not just like standing there blocking with your lightsaber constantly.
I mean, my biggest frustration too is you can't move while you're blocking.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Let me block and move forward.
At least like be able to walk while you're blocking,
Yeah, even if it's a slower walk, let me do that because then I can at least progress through the level a little bit more.
Yeah, not just like walk a little bit, stop to block, walk a little bit more. It just makes the game slow down to a crawl, especially like when you get to an area with a bunch of guys shooting. You're like, all right, this is going to take like 2 minutes when it should take 10 seconds.
And then there's that meter too when you are blocking, and I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, that it comes up by the scores.
Yeah. I've noticed that when we were playing, I'm just like, what? It keeps filling up, and I don't know what happens when it gets to full because it seems like nothing's happening.
I wonder if it fills up and you can't block anymore. Like that's like your limit.
No, maybe.
It's the only thing I can think of. That would make sense.
I have no clue.
But all right, we've talked about the gameplay this whole time, talking shit, whatever. What do you guys think about like the graphics and the frame rate and stuff?
So I think I personally like it. Like not knowing much about Star Wars, I think things look good, decently. The environments look great, but there are definitely areas where there shouldn't be frame drops, and it just tanks completely. Just trying to transition to a new area.
Yeah, it mostly happens when you're like, going around a corner and then there's a bunch of enemies and then the game just like slows to a crawl. But I agree with you though. The graphics are great.
Yeah, for what it is and for when it came out, I'd say the graphics look pretty good.
I mean, you can like actually tell who all the characters are supposed to be. You know what I mean?
One thing I was confused about is like, I'm not like up to date on my Jedi lore, but I didn't know that Mace Windu had a blue lightsaber before he had a purple one.
If I remember correctly, then they changed it after like one of the movies, I think, maybe after the first one.
Well, I mean, you didn't actually see him use his lightsaber on screen until episode 2. So maybe like between episode 1 and episode 2, he was like, I want my lightsaber to be purple.
That does sound like something Samuel L. Jackson would do.
Absolutely.
Now, I mean, this is just goes to my Star Wars knowledge. Do the colors actually mean anything, or is it just the color?
So in Knights of the Old Republic, whenever you go to become a Jedi, like the color of your lightsaber would determine like what class of Jedi you are. I don't remember the names. Like one of them's a Guardian, one's a Sentinel, and then there's another one.
Okay.
And I'm sure it goes deeper than that, but I'm not that big of a nerd.
But I also don't know if that's just like hey, this is us repurposing this for the game to have classes. Like, is that part of actual Star Wars lore? I don't know.
I'm sure there's a deeper meaning to it. I'm sure, you could look it up on Google and someone somewhere would be like, oh, this is why.
I'm sure to a degree too, it's just like they just think it looks sick this color, so they're like, I want this one,
Mhm.
Yeah, because like in my head, Darth Maul had the red one,
Mm-hmm.
and so my character that I'm playing, the female, has a red one. So I'm like, does that mean she's also bad because Darth Maul had the red one? So that's just how my mind links the colors.
This might have been before, all of that lore about lightsabers was established, or,
Mhm.
the game developers just didn't know that much about Star Wars. Like, oh, a red lightsaber would look good with this character.
Well, this was made by LucasArts, so I would think they would know, it's George Lucas, but I don't know. I always assumed, and this might be wrong, but blue is good and red is bad, right? Usually that's what they do in the movies.
Yeah, blue's good, red's bad, green's good, red's bad, purple's good, red's bad.
Are any other colors bad besides red?
I mean, in episode 3, Anakin still had his blue lightsaber. So I don't know if it really matters. I know that there's like a process to how to turn your lightsaber crystal red. It's called like bleeding your crystal. That's all I know though. That was in the Acolyte show, which was bad.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything in this game, unless either of you have anything else you want to bring up that we haven't talked about yet.
I can't. I've been this entire time we're talking, and that's why I tried to talk about the lightsaber color. I'm like, where else can we go with this? Because we've literally talked about everything.
Yeah, I mean, we can get into some of these reviews. So the PS1 version received mostly mixed to bad reviews. The Dreamcast version is considered the best out of them around the time. And then obviously this got a remaster pretty recently, which obviously is the best way to play now. But in its original release for the PS1, IGN gave the game a 3 out of 10. And they said, something happened along the line, and the concept of control was lost. With graphical glitches and some of the worst and unresponsive controls in a PlayStation game, this is one Star Wars game that even hardcore fans should stay far away from.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. 3 out of 10 is just so harsh. Like, even when we read bad reviews on here, it's usually like, oh, a 5 or something.
Yeah.
Like, a 3 is like, fuck this game.
And I don't get it either. It's like, I don't think it was that unresponsive. It's just inconsistent, I would say would be the word.
I mean, like, a spoiler for the scores, I don't think this game's a 3 out of 10. Like, that's harsh.
No, that's really bad.
Because, like, I was going to pull from one of the better reviews, and they're mostly just like, yeah, the game's great. And that's it. Like, they don't really, like, elaborate on it that much. So I'm like, I'm not going to say this. But there are good reviews that exist for this. But
Oh, you like Star Wars? You're going to like this game. That's
exactly.
10 out of 10.
Oh, you're excited about episode 1? You'll love this. So Eurogamer gave the game a 4 out of 10. And they said, although it's built on a solid formula, Jedi Power Battles is another missed opportunity for LucasArts to climb out of the hole they've dug for themselves in the past few years. While home to a few redeeming features, it falls flat on its face with bad collision detection, overly elaborate character animations, and rather poor execution on the whole.
Interesting take.
Yeah, I don't really know what they mean by overly elaborate character animations. Like, the animations look fine. Like, maybe they're just like mad that some of them are slower so they can look sick, you know?
It could be.
That would be the only thing I'd say is, like certain attacks are slower than others, so it's harder to time your attacks.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that goes back to just the character you select. Like some characters
Mhm.
move a little bit faster, some move a little bit slower. So if you want a faster character, then you can't play your favorite character if that's one of the other ones.
Yeah, and I mean, we didn't really touch on it too much, but the characters mostly just feel completely the same. Like, there's small differences, but I don't know. I played 3 different characters, and I didn't really notice that much of a difference outside of their like combos and force moves.
The biggest I've noticed was because I played the yellow lightsaber guy.
Mm-hmm.
Plo Koon.
Yes. Because he looks so cool. And I'm like, I like this guy. And he moves really, really slow. And then going to red lightsaber girl, she's so fast, and it took me a while to get used to that change of how her attacks are so much faster, and she runs so much faster compared to the other guy.
Yeah, even watching her sprint in this video, I'm like, oh, she's so much faster than Qui-Gon.
Yeah, and once you play a level as a character and you get those upgrades, it's like, I guess I'm locked on this now. I'm not gonna change, because why would I want to go back to having no stats?
Also true.
But all right, that brings us to our scores. I can go first, Mike, unless you want to go first.
Yeah, or we can let Ryan go. He's the Star Wars fan.
Do you have your score ready? You ready? You locked and loaded?
Yeah, I'd say I'd give it like 4, 5.
Okay.
I don't think it's terrible, but it's also terrible.
So I wasn't going to go as harsh as you. I think there's still some redeeming qualities to this, and it does feel bad to play in most aspects, but I didn't have a horrible time playing it. It was, I think the 2-player kind of added a lot to it of us playing together. Playing by myself, I probably would have had a worse experience. So I'm going to go with a 5.
Nice. I mean, to harp off of what you were saying, it was just like, there's a lot of satisfying moments in this where you'll be fighting a bunch of people and you go to block this guy, but then this other guy shot at you. So you're deflecting it to hit this other guy over here. And like, you're taking out all these people at one time. And when that happens, even though it's rare, it feels so good. You're like, oh, wow, I'm actually like doing all this cool shit. But then you get to the platforming and then you get to like the boss fights and it completely ruins everything that was cool happening just like 5 minutes ago. I'm surprised that I'm going higher than all of you, but I was going to go with a 5.5. It had fun moments, but there could have been a lot more fun moments out of that.
So I was going to go 5.5, but then Ryan talked a lot about his experience playing by himself, which we didn't have, and he didn't have a good time. So I was like, I'll just lower it by 0.5 to like, account for that.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, 5.5 is still not a good score. So
no. All right. Well, then that gives us a average rating of 5. So for once, we actually have a tie with 3 people. So this puts us in a tie with Soul Reaver, Magic Carpet, and Alone in the Dark.
I would probably put this below Soul Reaver.
I don't know. Part of me wants to say this should go above Soul Reaver.
Well, why?
Because Soul Reaver was just incredibly boring, and it had just puzzles that were almost impossible to solve unless you just spent a ton of time just staring at things trying to figure out what you're supposed to do. Opposed to this game, sure, the bosses were difficult, but at least everything was laid out in front of you. Mm-hmm. So all it took was just playing it over and over again to beat it.
Have you played any of the games we listed, Ryan? I doubt you have, but...
No, I've been meaning to check out Soul Reaver, but I haven't yet.
The PS1 version's kind of bad, but you'd probably have fun with the remaster for sure. Yeah, Mike, I don't really feel that strongly about it, so we can put it above Soul Reaver.
Okay, that's fine. So that's going to put us at 58, which is below A Bug's Life, above Soul Reaver. Yeah.
I've played A Bug's Life.
You played A Bug's Life?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on it?
I played it on Nintendo 64 like long time ago, but I remember it being fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right. Fine. Yeah. I also played it as a kid, and then we played it again for this, and I'm like, well, it's kind of bad, but it's not horrible. So apparently it's better than Jedi Power Battles. So, but all right. Thank you, Ryan, for joining us.
Absolutely. May the Force be with you.
Thank you so much for watching or listening. If you enjoyed this, please remember to like and subscribe, as well as give us a rating on podcast services. We'll see you next week.